Hey, what's going on everyone? This is VT2 here with another amusement park themed top 10 video. In the last one, I listed off my top 10 favorite roller coasters at the only big park I've visited so far, Canada's Wonderland. Now, there are quite a few parks throughout the US, mainly in the East, that I'd love to visit someday, whether it be next year or in 5 to 10 years from now. Keep in mind that I'm in the dark about amusement parks located overseas, so don't expect to see parks like Alton Towers or Fuji-Q Island here, even though those parks do interest me to an extent. Before we actually start though, I'd like to include an honorable mention. The only park on this list that is not located in the US is Laurent. The small and infrequently mentioned Six Flags Park is the only other big amusement park in Canada besides Canada's Wonderland, and it is located in Montreal, Quebec, which is just 7 hours northeast of me. In the past, I've heard from other enthusiasts that Laurent is hit or miss for them, which is understandable when you take a look at the coaster lineup that it has, which only consists of 8 different roller coasters. Nothing at Laurent really stands out, aside from their racing wooden coaster Le Monstre, their Batman the Ride clone Vampire, which I've heard is one of the best out there, and their B&M Hyper Goliath, which may not be 200 foot tall, but I've heard it's underrated and possibly superior to Behemoth, my home park's B&M Hyper. Laurent may not be a top tier park, but for what it is, it doesn't look so bad. It's one of the parks on this list that is the closest to me, so I hope to check out Laurent in the near future. Now that we've gotten our honorable mention out of the way, it's time to truly start off our list. First up is the park notable for having the most roller coasters in the world, at a grand total of 20, Six Flags Magic Mountain. It definitely appears to be one of the higher tier parks in the Six Flags chain, as a result of its high quantity of coasters. Some of the roller coasters there that interest me the most are the RMC Hybrid Twisted Colossus, the B&M Flying Coaster Tatsu, the RMC Raptor, Wonder Woman Flight of Courage, the Intamin Shuttle Coaster, Superman Escape from Krypton, and of course, the ever-iconic Aerodynamics 4th Dimension Coaster, X2, which looks like it would provide a very terrifying, yet amazing experience. Of course, there are 15 other coasters that went unmentioned, which I'll be sure to check out as well. Overall, Six Flags Magic Mountain seems like a park that you should make it a priority to visit at some point in your life, especially if you're looking for something fun to do in the state of California. I've heard a lot of good things about Hershey Park and its roller coaster lineup. Quite a few enthusiasts have called this one of North America's best amusement parks, and I can definitely see why. Hershey Park was originally going to be our honorable mention, but I just couldn't put it below Laurent. Out of Hershey Park's 15 roller coasters, the one I'm most excited for is easily Sky Rush, Hershey Park's Intamin Hyper, which is known for being one of the most polarizing coasters in the community. Some of the other roller coasters at Hershey Park that have piqued my interest include their pair of B&Ms, their Invert Great Bear and Candemonium, which is the newest B&M Hyper, as well as their other 2 Intamins, Fahrenheit and Storm Runner. Also, Hershey Park's new for 2023 RMC Hybrid, Wildcat's Revenge, has been receiving praise left and right by coaster enthusiasts and the general public alike, which is very promising for me. Whenever I do visit Pennsylvania to go to Hershey Park, I'll also be sure to check off some of the nearby parks, like Kennywood and Dorney Park, the latter of which has announced a B&M dive coaster, Iron Menace, which will be opening in the 2024 season. Returning to California, we have the first, and certainly not last, Cedar Fair Park on our list, Knott's Berry Farm. Don't let its small size and collection of only 10 roller coasters fool you, for I've heard that this is the best of the smaller Cedar Fair parks, as well as one of the best in the entire chain. Out of the 11 Cedar Fair parks in North America, this is the one that sees the most guests each year, most likely because it is open year-round. I have no doubts that I'll enjoy myself here. Knott's Berry Farm just happens to be Cedar Fair's only true theme park. Some of the areas, like the Western-themed Ghost Town and the Mexican-themed Fiesta Village, have a lot of charm put into them, as well as the Halloween event, Knott's Scary Farm. A decent amount of the coasters at Knott's seem to be worth my time, including their Soul Wooden Coaster Ghost Rider, as well as their Dirt Slower Euro Fighter, Hang Time, their B&M Invert Silver Bullet, and their Intamin Hydraulic Launch Coaster, Accelerator, which has recently been announced to be reopening in the 2024 season. Knott's Berry Farm will be one of the top items on my bucket list whenever I visit California. But I think I'll wait until Montezuma's Revenge finishes its renovations before I make any further considerations. After discussing 2 parks in California, I think we should switch coasts for a bit by moving to the other side of the states to talk a bit about Florida, starting with Busch Gardens, Tampa. Following the opening of their RMC Hybrid Iron Gwazi in early 2022, they have been all the rage with roller coaster and park enthusiasts. With its solid coaster lineup, atmosphere, food, and additional zoo, Busch Gardens Tampa is a popular tourist attraction in Florida, alongside Walt Disney World and Universal Studios Orlando, which sadly didn't quite make the list. Besides the obvious Iron Gwazi, the other roller coasters at Busch Gardens Tampa that I wanted to ride the most are their Intamin Launch Blitz Cheetah Hunt and their trio of B&Ms, their sit-down coaster Kumba, their inverted coaster Montu, and the dive coaster Shikra. While others may rank Busch Gardens Tampa higher on your bucket or favorites list, I still think this park is deserving of my attention, since it is praised by the community and is located in Florida, which is the state that I want to visit the most. Now let's head 3 states north to talk about Busch Gardens Tampa's sister park, Busch Gardens Williamsburg. This is where you'll start to hear me list off a higher quantity of coasters that I wish to ride, like more than 5. Now, I first started to hear Busch Gardens Williamsburg get frequently discussed in mid to late March by fellow coaster enthusiasts, and upon reading about its coaster lineup, I totally understand why it has seen some popularity recently. Busch Gardens Williamsburg may not have an RMC hybrid like Busch Gardens Tampa does, but almost all of the rest of the coasters there stand out. Busch Gardens Williamsburg is home to the first ever B&M Hyper, Apollo's Chariot, as well as the world's tallest and my personal most anticipated B&M Invert Alpengeist, and the fastest multi-launch coaster, Pantheon, which you are currently seeing on screen. Busch Gardens Williamsburg's other supporting coasters include the B&M Dive Coaster Griffin, the GCI Wooden Coaster Invader, Busch Gardens Williamsburg's other 2 launch coasters, Tempesto and Verbolten, their Aero Looper Loch Ness Monster, and their new for 2023 Dart Coaster. Not many other amusement parks have as strong of a coaster lineup as Busch Gardens Williamsburg does, so that's something that SeaWorld Parks and Entertainment should be, and probably is, proud of. I am quite eager to visit this park in the future. Now that we've discussed spots 10 through 6, we have now reached the top 5 parks on my bucket list, so let's keep going. Returning to Florida and continuing with the SeaWorld chain, we have SeaWorld Orlando. This park will likely hit home for me, as it doubles as a zoo and an amusement park, which are my 2 favorite kinds of places to go to. Now originally, a few years back, I had watched the Netflix documentary Blackfish, which had turned me off on going to SeaWorld. However, upon learning that SeaWorld Orlando was improving their ways with their animal welfare, as well as the selection of roller coasters that they have to offer, this park has now become high on my bucket list. SeaWorld Orlando's coaster lineup is very much focusing on quality over quantity, which is rare for amusement parks. Their 5 thrilling coasters all interest me. A lot of people miss Mako as the best B&M hyper in North America, while I have also recently taken an interest in B&M flying coasters, which Manta just so happens to be. And Kraken is one of the coolest looking floorless coasters out there. Plus, with the recent additions of their premier multi-launch coaster Icebreaker and their first of its kind B&M surf coaster Pipeline, it's looking like SeaWorld Orlando is expanding on the amusement park aspect of their offerings. Overall, SeaWorld Orlando certainly looks like an amazing place, and I hope to see them continue to improve with their animals and rides, so I can have an absolute blast when I get the chance to visit. Now we have one of the big 5 Cedar Fair parks, Carowinds. Located on the borders of North and South Carolina, Carowinds offers a selection of 14 different roller coasters. While only 4 of them are my top priority, they likely won't disappoint regardless. Their B&M Hyper Intimidator may suffer from its trim brakes and poor pacing, but it looks like it would serve for some fun thrills regardless of its flaws. While their B&M Invert Afterburn looks amazing, as its layout takes advantage of the terrain. And their mock multi-launch coaster Copperhead Strike is bound to provide an intense experience. Of course though, Carowinds is this high on my list solely because of its star attraction, Fury 325. I've seen this B&M Giga receive high praise left and right on the internet, and I don't think I'll be surprised if I end up ranking it above my current favorite roller coaster, Leviathan. As for the rest of the coasters at Carowinds, I'll likely just go on them with an open mind while Cedar Fair takes their time with this park, and hopefully add some better coasters in the future. A park that I hear coaster enthusiasts talk about all the time is Six Flags Great Adventure, and for a completely understandable reason. They have an all-star lineup of 14 different roller coasters, many of which I want to ride. Their Big 3 is difficult to outmatch, with arguably the world's best wooden coaster in the form of El Toro, one of the best B&M hypers in North America, that being Nitro, and the tallest roller coaster in the world, King Ka. A bunch of Great Adventure's other coasters look cool, like their RMC Raptor, Jersey Devil, their SNS 40 Freespin Joker, and their 4 other B&Ms, their Batman the Ride and Superman Ultimate Flight clones, as well as their floorless coaster Medusa, and their stand-up coaster, Green Lantern. Additionally, I've heard that Six Flags Great Adventure has a modest flat ride selection, which may be something I can do between roller coaster riding sessions. It's very apparent just how good of a park Six Flags Great Adventure is, which makes me all the more hyped to visit. Coming in at the number 2 spot is one of Cedar Fair's biggest and highest praised parks, Kings Island. Now, technically this park is tied with my number 1 spot, but it would make more sense for me to just talk about it separately. Based on the pictures and videos that I've seen, Kings Island looks like a very beautiful park, especially at the front where the Eiffel Tower is, and with the surrounding forest, which most of the coasters interact with. Like the previous 2 spots on this list, Kings Island is home to 14, soon to be 15, different roller coasters, a bunch of which look good, and 5 of which I have my eyes on. I am the most eager to ride Orion, Kings Island's new for 2020 B&M Giga Coaster, but I'm also excited to ride Mystic Timbers and Banshee, since I've never ridden a GCI wooden coaster or B&M invert before. And of course, how could I forget their B&M Hyper Diamondback, which is one of the best of its kind in North America, and their iconic world's longest wooden coaster, the Beast, which has been serving thrills to park guests since 1979. Kings Island also has some other great coasters scattered throughout its lineup, which which I'll be sure to check out. My excitement for Kings Island is almost immeasurable, but I can't wait to visit this park, hopefully next year by the earliest, to have the time of my life. Yeah, call me unoriginal all you want, but my number one bucket list park, tied with Kings Island, is Cedar Fair's premier and flagship park, Cedar Point. Regardless of the fact that its praises have already been sung thousands of times over the past 20 years, I'm going to do it again. Cedar Point is considered by many people as the best amusement park in North America, if not the world. As of the recording of this video, Cedar Point has 16 operating coasters, half of which I actually want to ride. Magnum XL200, Cedar Point's Aero Hyper, opened in 1989 as the world's tallest roller coaster at the time, while Raptor, Rougarou, and Valraven all look like very enjoyable B&Ms. And almost everyone's two favorite coasters here are the RMC Hybrid Steel Vengeance and the Intamin Launch Blitz Maverick. The two roller coasters at Cedar Point that I want to ride the most are Gatekeeper, one of North America's 4 B&M wing coasters, and Millennium Force, the first ever Giga coaster. Besides those two though, I would love to ride Top Thrill 2 once it opens, since it is my number one bucket list coaster. And it's not even open yet. All jokes aside, my plan is to visit Cedar Point next year at the earliest when Top Thrill Dragster finishes its renovations, so I don't feel slightly disappointed if I were to go this year and miss out on riding the original Stratocoaster. I definitely hope to do a trip down to Sandusky and Mason in Ohio next year at the earliest, specifically so I can finally visit Cedar Point and Kings Island. But anyways, that's all for this top 10 video. There were some other parks that are honorable mentions that didn't quite make the list, which I'll put up on screen as I say the outro. Have you been to any or all of these parks? Feel free to let me know what your bucket list or favorite parks are in the comments. While you're at it, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And also make sure to tap the notification bell so that way you won't miss any of my videos. Peace out, everyone.